Welcome to another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. We have reached NFL Conference Championship Sunday this upcoming week. We are down to 4 teams left, the final four NFL version, if you will. We've got the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship, and the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. And by the way, if it's anything like the last time the Rams and the Seahawks faced each other, holy shit, we are in for one hell of a football game on Sunday night with those two. And we are happy to have back two very familiar faces. If you've watched this show the last couple of years, Trevor Harris is back. We had him on last month. And this is the first time we've had Davis Alexander on this particular football season. And of course, the two Grey Cup quarterback participants this past November in what was a great game with Montreal, Saskatchewan. But Davis, we'll start with you since it's been longer since we saw Trevor last month. You're the guy we haven't seen in a very long time. How are you, my friend? Things good?
Yes, sir. I'm great, Ian. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm fired up. Talk a little bit of ball with the boys.
All right, we'll give you your, because I know Trevor spoke on playing in that Grey Cup game. How about you? I mean, I thought, and I said this to Trevor last month when he was on in December on this show, absolute warrior you were. I mean, absolutely, you clearly could see you were playing through that hamstring and gutted it out. All I could think of is here's this guy just, trying to put that last drive together, down by 8 points with a minute to go and powering through, obviously, what was some significant pain, but just couldn't be prouder of the effort you put forth there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. No, it was an incredible experience, of course. And it ended up being a pretty good game. Trevor played lights out over there. I think what did he have? 3 incompletions the whole game or something like that. So I got to tip my cap to him, and
99.9% completion rate, or at least it felt like it watching. Yeah.
right, yeah, it did feel like that a little bit.
Can I get one
But
of these
no.
damn things to hit the turf? You're probably thinking, yeah.
Right. No, but it was an incredible experience. It was an incredible atmosphere, and obviously wanted to come out on the other end. But I was, super happy for Trevor. He's meant a lot to me and in my career and my development, and we've always stayed close. We've always, um, had each other's backs and whatnot. So, yeah, it was a great experience, and hopefully we can get back and rematch again, and yeah, go at it again.
Two things. Two things. The ball couldn't hit the turf because if I let this guy on the field too much, we all know what happens, right? And so there's very pointed reasoning for the way I played. I knew that who was on the other side, and then secondly, it's just he's got the all-time CFL record for wins to start a career, and he's giving me a little bit too much credit. He's taken the things that we talked about a few years ago, and he's taken it to another level. He's made it his own, and he's got his own toolbox of stuff. And I think someday you're going to see a gold coat wrapped around that guy down there.
Well, I appreciate it, baby. You too.
To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. The great story, and I think I told you this, Trevor, too, and I think Davis, I texted this about the Hamilton Montreal game we lost in the East Final. Of course, I said the moment we got settled for that damn field goal, with just under 2 minutes left, and we left the door open for Davis to come down, at least get them in field goal range for the fresh maker, Malto, as I like to call it. Malto sounds like Mentos, the old commercial. But yeah, I said, you know what, boys? Oh, it's been a great season. We'll see you next year. I said that moment when before we got the ball, before Montreal got the ball in that final possession, I'm like, well, it's been a great season, boys. We'll see you next year. And sure enough, thing right down the field, kicked the game-winning field goal, broke the hearts of the Ticats fans there at the former Tim Hortons Field. Where they? It's just Hamilton Stadium. It's such a bland name now, but nevertheless, I just knew he's going to find a way to drive down that field and get them in position. And sure enough, they did. And off to the great.
Isn't it a good indicator, just in general, when you watch football, of how good a quarterback is by what you feel in your gut when that team has the ball and they haven't won the game yet? You're like, it's just like when Josh Allen steps on the field. You're
Josh
like,
Allen
Buffalo's winning the game.
Yeah, right.
When he steps on, as soon as the Broncos punted, it's like it's over.
Yeah.
I bet you people on the betting lines were live betting the piss out of Buffalo. Right?
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? And so, but it ended up not being that way. But that's just a good indicator of how good a quarterback is what's your feeling, what's your gut tell you when they're on the field and you're on the other side. It's like, oh, frick, man,
Right. And I mean, even with that Josh Allen situation, you're a a quarter of a second away from the ball staying in Cook's hands, and it's a completion. They're kicking Matt Prater's kicking the game-winning field goal in
Yep.
his homecoming to Denver.
No doubt. By the way, Davis made the smart move to get to the sunshine and warmth for off-season training, as you can tell, which is smart given what we're dealing with here. But all right, let's do a quick recap of last week, and then we'll get into the two games this weekend because it's worth talking about. The bookend games were outstanding. I mean, Buffalo-Denver was a terrific game. I said it all along. My best bet of the whole weekend was I had two totals that I liked, two overs that I liked, one won and one lost. The one that won was Buffalo-Denver. I thought that total at 45 was too low. And I said, I don't buy into Denver's defense totally against a good offense. Because and Davis, you know this as a Broncos fan, you feasted defensively. Let's be real, on Las Vegas twice and Geno Smith and Chris Oladokun in Kansas City after they got knocked out of the playoffs, and Trey Lance started the final game of the regular season when they sat Herbert for the Chargers. When you played two really good offenses and two playoff caliber quarterbacks and offensive football teams, Denver, Green Bay. They were slicing you up until Watson got injured in that game. They also lost one of their best offensive linemen, Zach Tom, to injury when they played Denver. And that's kind of when the Packer offense slowed down in that game against the Broncos. But up until that point, they were having a ton of success. And we all saw what Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville did against Denver. They rolled right in there, and Broncos couldn't stop them. It was up and down the field for Lawrence and the Jags. So my concern going into the Buffalo game was now you got to deal with Josh Allen, this Bills offense, and they don't have a great receiving core, don't have the depth. Other teams do, but it's Josh Allen. He'll find a way to make plays and move that football and put points on the board. And that's precisely what he did. And that's why I said I think this Denver defense against the best offenses, I still have some question marks. But I did expect Bo Nix and the Bronco offense to have a good game. Expected them to have some success running the football, which they did. And I expected Bo Nix to maybe pick on the Bills secondary because they did have injuries. The good rookie, Hairston, didn't play. Jordan Poyer, the safety, was out for the Bills last week, and he was able to make it. And I thought he played a great game. It was one of Bo Nix's best games. It was certainly much better than, and that's the growth in Nix from what we saw in Buffalo last year in the wild card round when they played the Bills. But it was a great football game. I know the controversy with the Cooks, potential catch that was ruled an interception, and Sean McDermott. What's funny about Sean McDermott? He's standing up for Buffalo. Buffalo apparently didn't stand up for him because they came to ass yesterday or a couple of days yesterday, which is hard to believe. But nevertheless, it was a great game. Davis, we'll start with you on that one. And then, of course, the shocking news, the ripple effect that he breaks a bone in his ankle right toward the end of the game in overtime. And we didn't know it. Nobody knew it when the game ended. And that game-winning field goal was kicked by Lutz. Nobody knew that anything was wrong with Bo Nix. We thought, Broncos on to the AFC Championship game. Bo Nix going to lead his team to the conference championship game. And then 15 minutes later, there's the breaking news, Adam Schefter. And then Peyton made it official a few minutes later saying Bo Nix out for the season, sending ripple effect through the NFL world. And now Jarrett Stidham, you're up, my friend, in the AFC Championship game at quarterback. So Davis, as a Bronco fan, the emotions, take us through it.
Well, I believe in Jarrett Stidham, first of all. I gotta rock with him. 2 years ago, he was in line for a starting quarterback. He was part of that QB battle with Zach Wilson, Stidham, and Bo Nix. And a lot of people thought that Stidham, had a chance to actually win that thing. But yeah, so just to recap the whole thing. I mean, to be honest, the Broncos defense, it's going to sound a little crazy, but they didn't really stop Buffalo besides the 5 turnovers or the 6 turnovers, right? I mean, Buffalo was driving down the field, at will. But obviously turnovers are a huge part of the game. And, you think about the 3-point swing at the end of half with Josh Allen fumbling. Obviously that played a huge role. And I thought Bo Nix played really well. Even the first drive of the game, he dropped that dime in there on the slot fade. Just couldn't come up with the catch. And then, going up 20-10 at half, I think everybody knew that the game wasn't close to over. And, Josh did his thing, came back, and as a Bronco fan, I was proud to see, Broncos and Bo Nix respond. I would have liked it to not go to overtime. Then we wouldn't have had the Bo Nix fractured ankle. But, that's football. And you got to believe that these guys will be ready to go and, playing in front of a electric home crowd in Denver. We'll see how it goes. Drake May's susceptible.
See what happens, right?
Drake May, they don't have the best O-line right now. Denver's got a pretty good D-line. We can get some strip sacks. We can force some pressure. they got Patriots have some okay receivers. Booty's been really impressive. Obviously, Diggs is Diggs. I don't know. I think we have a chance.
Booty has not been Booty for the P. He certainly wasn't on Sunday against
No,
Houston. What a
no,
catch that
no,
was there
no.
in a critical catch to really put some separation with them in Houston about that. Trevor, your thoughts on that crazy Bills-Broncos game, and what were you thinking? Whoa, Bo Nix out. What the hell happened?
I think we need to start calling him Jarrett Studham. Guys
Let's
can
go.
play, man.
You
And
know what
I
he
don't
is?
think they
You
remember
know what he is for me, guys? He is a preseason warrior because I've bet Denver in the preseason in August before because I always look at quarterback rotations in the preseason. If you've got good depth and second, third string that play in the second half of those games, I'm going to be looking to bet on those teams. And often Denver would have Stidham in there later in the game, and this guy's playing great. Like he has actually played great preseason football for the Denver Broncos the last couple of years. Now the question is, can he translate it into the regular season, into the playoffs, against, one of the best teams in the NFL that you'll be playing? That's the ultimate question. Now, Trev, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he's good. I think he's a good football player. I think one of the last times he played, he threw for around 365, and there was a little wild twist for you. Who was the O coordinator calling plays for Jarrett Stidham?
McDaniels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jarrett Stidham can play. You don't float around the league and have a number 2 job this long if you can't go in there and play ball. My lean this week would be to take the points with Denver, not to get too far ahead. But I think everybody's going to be way too inflated on, oh, Bo Nix is out. And like we talked about before the show, it's like, oh, Bo Nix is being carried by this defense, by this team, by the run game. They're doing so much to help him. Now that he's hurt, everybody's like, oh, they're screwed. It's like, come on, man. This is a good football team. You don't go 14-3 in the NFL by only having a good quarterback. I should say that's maybe reserved for maybe a very few amount of teams. And it didn't surprise me to see the Broncos win. I think when you looked at a line like that, I think immediately you're like, oh, Buffalo's going to win. They should be favored by 3.5, 4. And when you see the line where it was last week, I think that was a telltale sign that everybody's underestimating Denver because, let's be honest, Vegas is not stupid. You're muted, Ian.
I was going to say is at the same time, though, Buffalo just takes better care of the football. That could have been a different result. Like turnovers just crushed the Buffalo Bills, and I still am baffled by what happened at the end of the first half. Like,
shoulda, woulda, coulda.
I know aggressiveness is the way to go, and you want to play to win, not play not to lose. But at the same point in time, you got no timeouts. You got barely 10 seconds left. Like, what are we doing here? Just running the football up the middle, and then, of course, the fumble happens, and it's basically a freebie of 3 points to the Denver Broncos right before half. It was just a brutal situation for that to happen.
It kind of looked like Josh was treating it like, at the end of a game when you don't try and die with the ball in your hands because they didn't have any timeouts. It looked like he was almost looking to lateral it backwards, and he got a little careless with the ball. Yeah, okay. I thought I saw it. I thought I was tripping.
I thought he was kind of looking around for that, and I thought he maybe had the thought of like, can I get to the sideline and get out of bounds, or should I lateral this? I think there was a lot going through his mind.
He was thinking about what to do. Maybe chuck that football, lateral it to a teammate there.
What was not going through his mind was
you were going to run out of time anyway. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. As far as the other game, like obviously it was just San Francisco, too many injuries. Seattle just too good, especially on the defensive side of the football. That defense is unbelievable for the Seattle.
They're so good.
Sam Darnold he's got to replicate that this Sunday against San Francisco. Just no mistakes. Just take what they give you, run the football. Now it'll be harder. A glass of Chardonnay is out.
I don't think he likes playing against the Rams, man. Like,
yeah.
He said 6 turnovers this year against the Rams, 6 or 7 turnovers this year against the Rams, and the rest of the season, not that many.
Yep, he has.
But they stayed in the game. He threw no touchdowns and 4 picks, and they lost by 2. That tells you how good that football team is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think if you're being realistic, Seattle and LA are the 2 top teams in the league, and like without a shadow of doubt, I think that they're far
Davis,
better.
I'll tell you right now, I've got people already telling me that's the Super Bowl on Sunday, the NFC Championship. I think that's a little disrespectful.
The NFC West Championship is more like it.
Hey, Broncos used to be in the NFC, or Seahawks used to be in the AFC West too back in the day.
That is wild, huh?
The old
Yeah.
Kingdome days. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's the Super Bowl, because any given Sunday, that stuff always happens, right? When you write a team off. I mean, shoot, not to get too far off track, but look at the national championship yesterday. I mean, if Carson Beck puts that ball out there a little farther, I don't think the safety gets there. That's a touchdown.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people thought Indiana were going to roll. Anyway, those two top teams in the league, and I think they both have unbelievable coaches. Seems like they both have unbelievable culture. Seahawks fly around like nobody's business on defense. Matty Ice is Matty Ice. I mean, that guy's unbelievable, and that'll be an incredible matchup.
Yeah, that will be. That will be. And like I said, for San Francisco, I still give them all the credit for Shanahan, too, for getting them to this point. They had so many injuries this year, but Seattle was too good for them. Obviously, C.J. Stroud. We have to talk about C.J. Stroud a little bit before we get extensively into the two games on Sunday. That's too bad playoff performance. Even against Pittsburgh, I don't think he played that great. He had the bad red zone interception there, and if the Houston defense hadn't clamped down and forced turnovers on Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, let's put it this way: if it wasn't Pittsburgh, that could have been a loss for Houston with how bad the offense was at times in that game. And then again against the New England Patriots, it's just now New England defensive front. You got to give them some credit, but sometimes eating the sack. You don't like to, but sometimes you got to. Sometimes that's better than just putting the ball up for grabs and putting it in harm's way. And that's what got CJ in trouble at times. You've either got to eat the sack or throw the damn thing away out of bounds. And it was just too many times he was trying to force it in there out of desperation and put it up for grabs. And that's when the interceptions happened and just way too many turnovers from CJ Stroud in that game. And let's be honest, now the discussion's out on CJ and that his growth and development has really not been there. He had that phenomenal rookie season. He took the NFL by storm. He was spectacular in that year, and it's been kind of middling, if not a decline a little bit in his game the last couple of years since that great rookie season. And definitely going to have to be some things that he works on. They have to improve the O-line too. Don't get me wrong. And again, without Nico Collins, he's a mess. Yeah, that was a big part of the handicap last week on the shows that we did. We did a couple of different shows with various guests, and I said it. The Nico Collins absence is huge because I've seen it out of Houston and CJ. CJ, without him on the field, it's like he's a different quarterback. With Nico Collins, his number one big play weapon, he finds him. He feels more comfortable. The vertical passing game is more dangerous, more effective, and without him, it's a much different passing attack for the Houston Texans, and he loses a lot of confidence without him on the field. And we saw that clear as day. With all due respect to Jaden Higgins and Christian Kirk, they did the best they could, at the receiving spot. But losing Nico Collins, guys, at least to me, that was a pretty big deal. And like I said, CJ Stroud's going to have to work on some things. Just like you guys always work to get better, CJ's really going to have to look in the mirror and say, how can I get better next season for this football team?
Yeah, Go ahead, Trev.
Go, no, you go again.
But did they also lost Dalton Schultz midway through the game, right? Correct. I mean, I think
that's a good point. Yep.
That's probably two of his most comfortable targets right there, and Nico and Dalton. And then when I was watching the game, I kind of got like a little flashback to 2024 when when I subbed in for Cody, and when he had his hamstring problem. And I just remember, obviously I wanted to play aggressive and wanted to play my part of the game, but I knew how good of a defense we had. And all I knew was, and I'm sure, Trevor, you could speak on this, when you're growing into your form, all you think about is just taking care of the football and letting your teammates step up for you, Not to say that CJ Stroud's not capable, but when you have, I would say Texans are the best defense in the league. If you just take care of the football and you see that they're forcing all these turnovers themselves and they're causing Drake May, who's probably going to be the MVP, he didn't look super comfortable out there either. He looked good, but he didn't look super comfortable. If you would have just kept your team in it and, kept the ball out of harm's way, you're probably going into half up. And it's a totally different game. And then even your defense stood up for you all the way up until the end of the third quarter. You kept turning the ball over, and I know one of them was a tip pick that really wasn't his fault, but there's got to be a little bit more. He doesn't need to be the star with that defense that DeMeco Ryans has built, and it was just a little disappointing. And you feel for him without having Schultz and without having Nico, but it's I don't think their run game was, totally taken out of it, and they were in decent third and short situations. It didn't look super pretty.
Yeah. Trevor, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. To kind of what Davis was saying was, I think a lot of times you have to assess. Even Davis being a prominent quarterback in the CFL, he'd tell you, "How's my defense playing today? Are we giving up a lot of chunks, or does it look like we're getting scored on? Then maybe you need to take a little bit more risks. That's game management. I think the laziest thing people do is say, like, he's a game manager. We're all freaking game managers. Full disclosure, all of us are.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you're not a good quarterback. You have to pick your spots. Like CJ Stroud in this deal, he's had 7 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. His defense gave up 3 points off those 7 turnovers. So that's incredible. That's incredible stuff by his defense. But the thing that stuck out to me about CJ that was disappointing, and I'm always very careful to criticize quarterbacks because we play this position. And I can tell you, if you haven't played the position, it's more difficult than you think. Whatever you think it is, it's more difficult than that. There's a lot of variables and stuff. And so you got to sometimes be careful. But the thing that stuck out about CJ to me was how much he missed open receivers. Like, I don't care if it's Dalton Schultz or if it's Nico Collins or if I'm out there running the route. You should be able to put the ball where it's supposed to be caught. And that was what, he was
I
trying
remember a
to throw
bootleg throw. He bootlegged to the right and just not even way behind the receiver and right into the dirt. Right.
And when you put the coach's film on, it was the same thing. You're like, man, you got to hit that one. And he would tell you the same thing. I don't think CJ Stroud would be like, well, why don't you try to? He would say, you're right, I got to hit that. I think he would tell you that. So I don't want to be too critical because I know how difficult the position is, but I think he would even tell you, I've got to hit the open receivers. And those, you're going to keep the chains moving. And when you have that good of a defense, staying on the field makes your defense even that much better.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Trev, about CJ taking accountability, I think he had a great couple answers in the post-game interview. I think, they asked him about, if he thought about whether he should have been benched or not. And as a competitor in him, he said, of course, I don't think I should have been benched, but I could have understood why other people on the team or maybe even coaches thought that I should have been benched because I wasn't playing to my standard. And I think that's the first step in him making a step and changing and and figuring out what he's got to be better at and how he's got to be better. Because I think last offseason, or was it 2 off seasons ago, he said he was the 3rd best quarterback in the league, right? When he talked about his top 5.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do love his confidence. I do love that.
Oh, totally.
I still draw on a couple of things he said in the past during his rookie year. He threw a couple picks in a game. And they asked him about it afterwards because he came back and played well. He said, Steph Curry don't quit shooting.
Yep.
And that's a great mindset to have. But you also have to understand, if you've thrown 3 picks, why don't you just find a completion or 2, get yourself in rhythm. Don't keep hosing it downfield and doing crazy stuff, right?
Yeah. I do remember a Kid Rock song called Cocky. The words were, it ain't bragging if you do it and you back it up. You can brag. You can say you're number 3, but then you got to go out and prove it and do it.
It's a tough one.
For sure.
Yeah, tough one indeed. And then we wrapped up the weekend with Rams-Bears was in the frigid cold. I mean, I know I was concerned about the weather. That's the over that lost. I mean, I thought if the conditions were fine in Chicago last night, Sunday, and they weren't, we'd see a lot of points in that game. But you do at the same time, it was tough conditions. It's much tougher. You guys can speak to that. It's definitely when it's that cold, it can be tougher to grip the football, catch the football, obviously. And we saw Dunze drop one. We saw a couple others. And in conditions like that, it's going to happen. But, the Rams, they found a way. But the Bears, man, they didn't play that. I mean, they got out-yarded a decent amount. And yet here were the Bears just finding a way. And Caleb Williams, you know what? Caleb Williams is Houdini throw to Cole Kmet back of the end zone. Davis had one of those this past season in the CFL. I remember it was a game against Edmonton. I remember it. And he basically, I think he remembers it too. I can tell by the smile and the reaction.
No, Davis was sitting there going, which one are you talking about? Because he did it more than once.
No, I mean, he was in trouble, dead to rights, backing up, backpedaling, did a little 360 spin, and then just fired it as deep as he could down the field toward the back part of the end zone, and his guy's right there behind the entire Elks secondary. And I know it was Edmonton. There's it was one of the great throws of the year, honestly, in the CFL. And that's what it reminded me of. Caleb Williams doing the same thing there to Kmet. Incredible play. He has just an incredible ability to just rise up and make big plays at big moments. You got to give him credit for that. I know he's going to look back on the interception there in overtime.
No, he won't.
No.
DJ Moore effed him.
Yeah, I think
Right,
so. There's
stop running.
miscommunication. You can't put it all on
Go
Caleb.
watch
There's
go watch the
miscommunication.
film. He's running an over route, a deep diagonal route. Any quarterback would tell you when he sets his line,
You
you
gotta
stay
stick
there.
to it.
He stopped
Yeah.
running, and the DB. You've got to beat the DB to the ball, especially in a situation like that. He's running the over route, and the defensive back was converging on it, and he just beat him over the top. He overcut the
Yeah.
route, and that should never happen.
So you're saying you got to keep running as the receiver. Only bad things happen if you stop.
Absolutely.
Correct,
There's zero reason DJ Moore had to stop running or stay high in that route. When you see the ball, track the ball.
Well, that's what I was also going to say. I mean, Trevor, I'm sure you guys teach it the same, but over routes, out routes, everything, you're supposed to come flat. If anything, a negative angle to protect the ball. The ball's the most important thing. So he kept on that high angle, and as Trevor said, stop running. If anything, if he just comes flat, it's the worst case. It's incompletion. You might even have a chance to catch that ball. Yeah, that was tough. That was brutal. But that comeback, I mean, that throw, I kept telling everybody, it's like he just threw like a 45-yard comeback off his back foot. That's what it looked like to me on the Cole Kmet touchdown. It was,
Dude, he's incredible, man. And I don't want to say anything crazy. I'm going to say something crazy, though. I think within 3 years, I think we might be talking about Caleb Williams being the best quarterback in the NFL.
Wow.
There's a chance of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he will, but like his talent level is incredible. And if he has Ben Johnson,
Yeah.
dude, Ben Johnson, Shanahan, McVay, KOC, if you've got one of those guys, you've got a chance, no matter what. And so the fact that he has that talent level, you can tell how much of an effect Ben Johnson's had on him. I just wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Caleb Williams as being, I don't want to say the best because I don't want to disrespect Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I don't want to go, but Caleb Williams is something else, man. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
We lost Davis.
Too much sun for Davis. You got there we go.
Sorry, somebody's calling me.
That's all. Yeah, that sometimes happens. Sometimes I notice when you're on with using your phone as like the for video stuff. Yeah, that when you get a call,
just turn on do not disturb.
He's back.
My bad. Hold on, I gotta get into my AirPods again. Sorry about that.
That's
You're
all right.
good.
All good. I was just going to say, I'll add this before we get into the specifics of the two games this Sunday. One last thing about this Rams-Bears game, because I have to bring it up, especially with two quarterbacks in the room. How fucking amazing was that throw from Matthew Stafford to Devontae Adams in overtime? Like that window. Holy shit, that window.
He threw that thing through a freaking
keyhole.
He threw it through a keyhole, bro.
Yeah, a thimble.
But he does that once or twice a game. But the thing that annoys me about Stafford sometimes is like he'll do these no look passes like twice a game when he doesn't have to, and he'll like miss, and it's like, Matthew, just throw it to him.
Yeah.
Like he has that, but like, man, he makes some throws that literally no other quarterback in the world would make, and I don't say that lightly.
It was incredible.
All right, I'm back. Okay, the Caleb Williams thing, I totally agree, Trev. I think he could easily be, especially with Ben Johnson, he could easily be. I could see him being the next or the best quarterback in the league next year. But it's funny you say that because during the Packers Bears game, my brother texted me, and he was like, "Dude, he might be the best in the league next year." And I was like, Are you talking about Caleb, or are you talking about Colston Loveland? Because Colston Loveland, I think, could be the best tight end in the league next year for sure. I mean, the way, because they didn't really use him too much, the first like half of the year, and he turned it on, and ultimately, I think he ended up having better stats.
Yeah. And Cole Kmet became an afterthought in the playoffs. Loveland was getting all the snaps, all the touches, all the opportunities, and credit to Kmet. He had to stay ready. Because Loveland got banged up there in overtime, and he was ready to come in, and he made that, of course, big catch there, I should say, at the end of the fourth quarter. So you give him credit. That's being a pro, being ready, and he was ready.
I got to give the Bears credit, too, because I thought when they didn't draft Tyler Warren, I was like, ooh, they should have drafted Tyler Warren. And then I watched Colston Loveland like on film because I'm watching a lot of Bears film this offseason. I'm like, this dude's something else, man. He's a problem. He's good.
It's funny you say that, Trev, because in Montreal we kept track of Loveland and Tyler Warren and Coach Moss's office. We kept track of Loveland and Tyler Warren's stats because I was on the Loveland train and all the coaches were on the Tyler Warren train. So at the first 7 weeks of the year, they were giving me a whole bunch of shit, and then towards the end of the year, I sent them all screenshots of the stats and said, which one are you taking? But
Yeah.
that's funny.
I will say, blocking wise, Tyler Warren's probably a little better, but dude,
For
as
sure,
as a receiver,
Yeah.
Colston Loveland is better. But I did not expect to say that at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, but you can use Loveland everywhere. Like, he's like a true. He's a red zone target as a receiver. Like he ran
Yeah.
that bang route last week or 2 weeks ago versus Green Bay. He looked like a true wide receiver one. So he's super impressive to me. Obviously, Tyler Warren, he's a big guy, big jump ball guy too. But
And really trendy right now in the NFL, 3 tight end sets. And so when you've got Cole Kmet along with Colston Loveland and another tight end that can kind of complement him, I think you get big, you can throw the ball, right? You get big, you can run the ball. You really cause defenses, you can simplify defenses. It's what NFL teams are doing right now.
Well, I caught obviously had a monster game against Green Bay, Colston Loveland. I took the over receiving yards with him against the Rams. It was close, but it got there. Just got over the number. It was like 54.5, and I think he had 56 receiving yards for the game last week. So that was great to see. But he's been great. There's no doubt, and developing and gotten better and better. And I got to give Ben Johnson praise for one last thing too: the offensive line. Offensive line, everybody. Pro Football Focus, all these different sites had the Chicago Bears offensive line like 29th or 30th in the NFL last year, how bad it was. And they're not elite yet, but look at the difference this year to last year for the offensive line as well for the Chicago Bears. Incredible improvement in that unit, and that also helped Caleb Williams and this Bears offense take off as well. All right, we got about 20 minutes left, so we will get into the 2 games specifically now for Conference Championship Sunday. AFC Championship to begin, 3:00 p.m. Eastern time coming up on Sunday. Looking forward to it. I don't know how the colors change, but there we go. New England and Denver. New England 5-point road favorites, 41.5 the total. That's right. Denver Broncos, a healthy 5-point home underdog here in the Mile High City for this game. It's Tuesday that we're recording this show. So the game is Sunday. I haven't even totally locked in everything because I always, especially this deep into the playoffs, these are not easy games to bet, easy games to pick. You really got to think it over, look back at previous games, look back at some condensed replays of games involving these two teams, look at box scores, look at stats from previous games to really, before I get to my full-on conclusion. But I'm going to say this right now, early in the week, this will be a bet for me. I think this total's too low. I think it's too low again on a day.
Shocker. You go over.
41.5. And see, I'm not so sure about the second game, Seattle and San Francisco. 47.5 is pretty high with how Seattle's defense is playing right now. And the Rams defense was able to step up too against Chicago. You give them credit. But this total's, I think, we're not asking for a shootout here. It's 41.5. Both teams get to 20. It's going to go over the total. The way I see it with New England's defense, which has been excellent in the first 2 games. There's no denying that, but there's been some inherent issues with the other team they played offensively. The Chargers had offensive line injuries all season. No Rashawn Slater,
their offensive
no
line stinks.
All kinds of problems. And, Justin Herbert was a sitting duck back there, and the Patriots took advantage of it. And then, of course, against Houston, not Charger offensive line bad, but that ain't a great offensive line either that Houston has. Patriots were able to feast on that, a mistake-prone quarterback. Now, I guess you could say, well, this is Jarrett Stidham, his first regular season start in years. Stud him, that's what Trevor says, kind of maybe alluding to what Trevor thinks he might play like on Sunday. But, at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of good out of Stidham in the past, in the preseason, mostly with Denver, but he was lighting up defenses in the preseason. Now, I know this is totally different, but he's been in the system with this organization now for a couple of years. Now with Peyton, he'll know the playbook, he'll know the terminology, he'll know the personnel. That's a good head start for a quarterback, in this kind of situation. And I think for the New England defense, while it's been great, you could argue now they're going on the road for the first time. After having 2 home games, you got to deal all of a sudden with that kind of environment. And like I said, with the New England Patriots, they were excellent as far as their D-line versus Houston and the LA Chargers offensive line. I think the Denver offensive line will offer up some more resistance here in this game, because the one thing I noticed in that Buffalo game, Bo Nix didn't get sacked all that much. So at that point, you got to give them credit. They kept a pretty clean pocket most of that football game for Bo Nix. So is that New England pressure up front going to get there like it did against Houston and the Chargers? So I think there's at least some openings for Stidham and the offense to have some success here in this game. Use RJ Harvey a bit. New England's run defense, I don't know what to make of it, because they were good against the Chargers, good against the Texans, but in the back half of the regular season, their numbers defensively, DVOA, all these different metrics for run defense, they declined down the stretch. They weren't stopping the run as much late in the regular season or as well as they did early in the season. So, and Milton Williams being back, of course, the last game or two has helped. But like I said, I think you could still maybe have Harvey have some success on the ground. And like I told you guys earlier, I don't think Denver's defense is elite. I don't think it is. I think it's okay. It's good. But I think against capable playoff caliber offenses and quarterbacks, like we saw with Green Bay and Jacksonville in the regular season and Buffalo last week, that even though Denver won that game, Bills moved the ball up and down against the Broncos. I think Drake May and the Patriots will have success moving the football here as well. We're not asking for a shootout. 41.5 is not shootout, is not in the shootout stratosphere here. All we need is both teams to get 20, and I think that's doable. And I'm seeing the forecast, guys. You always got to look for it this time of year. It was beautiful conditions for January outdoor football in Denver last weekend, and I'm seeing no rain, 6-mile-per-hour winds, and 40 degrees Fahrenheit again this Sunday for the game. So it looks like weather will be perfect at the moment in Denver for Sunday. Davis, they're your team, the Broncos, so we'll start with you on this one. Patriots, Broncos.
With the head, not the heart here, Davis.
I know, man. The problem for me is, like, I thought the Patriots were pretty good all year, but I never thought, like, to me, even with the Broncos, I didn't think the Broncos should deserve to be a 1 seed, and I didn't think the Patriots deserve to be a 2 seed. But then you look around and you're like, there's not really anybody else in the AFC. You know what I mean? But you got to tip your cap to what Drake May's done this year. Obviously, Mike Vrabel, he seems to be an incredible coach. The turnaround he brought Tennessee, and then obviously in Drake May's second year, getting those guys to 14-3 and the 2 seed in the AFC. They're obviously a scary team. I gotta believe that Sean Payton's going to have one of the more QB friendly approaches with Jarrett Stidham, and as far as game plan goes, especially because as you mentioned, Ian, Stidham's been in the offense for a couple of years now. All the guys seem to love Stidham, or Studham, as my boy Trev's calling him. I think I have to override the head piece here and go with the heart and at least take the +5 points with the Broncos. With that being said, I do want to give a couple best bets for this game. I think RJ Harvey receptions over. You got, again, you got to keep it friendly for Stidham.
Yep.
RJ Harvey.
Back?
What's
I know
that?
Is J.K. Dobbins back? I know they opened the window for him to practice.
I don't know on that. I would imagine
there's sparingly, if anything, anyway.
Yeah, I like McLaughlin too. McLaughlin's a pretty good. They seem to actually like McLaughlin on the ground more than they like Harvey. But Harvey out the backfield, I swear, every time he makes one, at least the first guy miss. And the other one, I'm going to go on the other side. I think they're going to test Riley Moss. I mean, I think we've all seen it. Riley Moss gets, people try and throw deep on him all game long. And Drake May, I think, has one of the best deep balls in the NFL. His accuracy is incredible to me. It kind of reminded me of Jaden Daniels last year in his playoff run when he was a rookie. So I want to go Drake May over longest completion, which I would guess is probably about 38.5. I don't know, Ian. You might have that more.
I've got it right in front. Yeah, I've got all the prop numbers right in front. And Drake May, you're looking at longest completion for Drake May over 35.5 is where it is.
Okay, not too far off. I would take that for sure. And but I'm still riding with my Broncos +5. Sean Payton's going to have a friendly friendly game plan. That place is going to be rocking. It's the first shoot. I guess we won the Super Bowl in 2016, made the playoffs for the first time last year, and I think Denver's going to ride together and try and reunite and put a smile on Bo's face.
No doubt. I'll throw out a prop too before I get to Trevor on this. Everyone within the Patriots says everyone complains a little bit about the receiving core because it's an older Stephon Diggs, it's Demario Douglas, and it's been who else is going to step up. But they've liked the talent in this kid. He made an unbelievable catch against Houston, and maybe that gets him going. The monkey's off the back, the confidence starts to flow. We've seen it with Trevor Lawrence with over 300 passing yards against Denver. We saw it with Jordan Love, Green Bay. He threw the ball on that Denver secondary. Josh Allen last week. You can throw on this team a little bit. I think maybe a Kayshon Boutte touchdown prop again, plus 270 over his receiving yards as well, which is 35.5. That's a popular number because his receiving yards is 35.5. I could see him making some impact. So there we go. Booty, 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 rocking everywhere. There you go. That's an old school hip hop song. So there you go. Kayshon Boutte for New England, I think, could make an impact here. Trevor, how do you see this one going? New England, Denver.
Well, I'm not quite as well versed as you guys in the betting stuff, but I would actually lean toward Broncos here +5 if I was betting the game. In terms of confidence level, I'm not really sure, but in terms of, but I don't know. I mean, I think Jarrett Stidham's going to do a great job because if you think about it, protecting the quarterback, people are always like, oh, their D-line's just going to get after him. Well, you have to understand, and Sean Payton knows this as good as anybody, is who's all involved in protecting the quarterback. The play caller is. The offensive line obviously is. The quarterback is because if you're hot, throw the ball away. The running back is because he's part of the protection. The receivers are with sight adjustments, looking at certain ways. And so you've got, the 11 players on the field plus the coaches. So you've got 12 people involved in protecting the quarterback. And I think they know that very, very well. And I think they'll come out with a great first 15, get them involved early. I think they'll score early. But if my favorite bet would be the over here, I would say, but I think you could I think Denver +5 and over 41.5 would probably be my lean.
Biggest home underdog in conference championship history for a number 1 seed. That's what this is. Since 1970, no team's been, as big an underdog as this. So this is some rare point spread air for a number 1 seed in their conference, being a 5-point home underdog. But obviously, the situation dictates why that is here.
Yeah. You can maybe tease it up and go +11 and then over 35.5.
You want to be safer? There you go. The old SGP
5 points
side total teaser. Yeah.
But I've been kind of beating the drum on Drake May. I don't know if you guys play fantasy football, but we have a fantasy football league on our team, and I drafted Drake May fairly early, and everybody gave me that, oh, Drake May, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you guys who won the championship and who only lost 1 game all year and just dominated everybody and won the championship by 70, the conference championship by 100, but it might have been me. And so I've been beating the drum for Drake May all year. He's done a fabulous job. He's very, very athletic. He's kind of in the same mold as Josh Allen. He's not Josh Allen. Let me get that out there, but he's really, really athletic. He has a very strong arm. He's very composed, never looks like the moment's too big for him. He's a stud. I just feel like Denver is really underestimated here because of the Bo Nix situation. And you don't go 14-3 in the NFL by just being an average team. You're going to be in the game.
Yeah. I think plus it's New England's first road playoff game and for Drake May as well. Let's, see how he handles that environment. I'll ask this of Davis because he knows this team well. Are you concerned about the run defense, or is that just 2 years in a row Buffalo, and we talked about this last year, I remember in our group text, that Buffalo has the size advantage, their O-line over Denver's D-line, and Buffalo ran the football down Denver's throat last year in the playoff game, and even last week. I mean, James Cook for 117 rushing yards in that game against Denver's defense. So was that just it's a bad matchup for our run defense against Buffalo, or is this something they can do? They can match up better against the run versus Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson of New England here in this game. Where are you at with that?
No, I'm very nervous about the run game. I mean, even you look at what Jacksonville did to Denver with ETN, and that opened up everything for Trevor Lawrence. And I mean, let's also not forget that Drake May is super athletic, and I know you just talked about it, Trev, about him being similar to Josh Allen. I mean, what Drake May ran for like 60 yards against the Chargers in a, in an ugly 16-3 game. Like he's got sneaky athleticism, not even sneaky. Josh Allen, it was hard for us to even contain him. Obviously we got him a couple times on the fumbles. But those are to me, those are kind of like fluke plays. That's not, you can't, even the James Cook fumble, like you can't bank on that going into every game that you're going to get 3 fumbles. 3 fumbles in a game is absurd. So it's totally a concern to me. I'm sure they're going to try and have a plan for it, and then the back end's going to have to pick them up. I know the Broncos play a lot of man coverage, and I think that's why they decided to go after Riley Moss instead of PS2, and you saw him even a couple times go after McMillan in the slot. But we'll see. It's going to be, I think it's going to be, obviously, every playoff game has a ton of chess pieces, that go into it. But I think you're going to see a lot of collateral here, with how the Denver run defense does, and it's going to set up exactly what goes on the rest of the game, in my opinion.
There you
And
go.
if you watched what Buffalo did last week, they took the man coverage that Denver likes to play, and they kind of messed with it a little bit. They would motion number 1 all the way down to the slot to get PS2, because he's probably the best cover corner in the league, to get him out of the shallow end a little bit, get him a little bit more in deep water, stuff you're not comfortable doing. And they even ran outbreakers, because it's like a lot of times you'll motion a guy in like that, he's running in breakers. And so they kind of broke a little tendencies and did a good job with that to try and get him just a little out of his element. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit of the Patriots do the same thing.
I guess that's why he's getting head coaching interviews then. Joe Brady did a nice little job there with some of the stuff he did as the offensive coordinator for the.
He's coaching Josh Allen. It's like a cheat code. It's like, pick a play, it's going to work.
Get Mike McDaniels to Buffalo. That's what I say.
I don't want that. I'm a Cincy fan.
Yeah. But this could be the time to step back in with quarterback run game against Denver too, because Josh Allen had 66 rushing yards, and Drake May's rushing prop is only 29.5 yards here, rushing yards. Here.
Yeah, I
May
totally
doesn't
agree.
want to run, though. He doesn't want to run. If you watch him on film, he does it out of necessity.
He doesn't want to. He may have to, though, a little bit more. He's on the road now. A lot of noise.
But Drake's kind of one of those guys, like, to me, he's like such a silent competitor, but you can tell how big of a competitor he is. And when I look at like QB rushing props like that, you knew Josh was going to do whatever it took for his team to get to the AFC Championship. To me, I kind of see it the same way with Drake May. Like, back when the Chargers played, I took Drake May rushing because I knew, in my opinion, this guy's a crazy competitor. He's going to find a way to will his team to victory. So I like that same thought there too. Yeah.
I heard a great Mac Brown story about Drake May. Mac Brown, of course, legendary college football head coach, coached him at North Carolina. He said that how competitive, because he's a soft-spoken, nice guy, Drake May, but very competitive. He was in a ping pong match with some of his offensive linemen at North Carolina, and he would lose a couple in a row, and he would just slam the racket against the wall, and the racket broke. Like he got just so pissed about losing a ping pong match to one of his offensive linemen.
So show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser.
There you go. Yeah,
old saying
that's all you need to know about Drake May. That was a great story from Mac there. But yeah, competitive son of a gun. That's exactly what he said in the interview. He's a competitive.
Those people always piss me off. It's like, bro, you just broke the racket. Now we can't play. Like, man. Like, be pissed off, but don't break the racket. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
they probably got 300 rackets sitting around there, Trev. You know that.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if that comes from his family too. You guys remember when he got drafted? And his brothers did that video where they reenacted like how the Michigan players portrayed Christian Laettner on the documentary.
I never saw that video, but that's funny. His brother's Luke May, isn't it?
It might be
the North Carolina
basketball guy, basketball.
Yeah, player. The North Carolina power forward.
They kind of they mimicked the way that the Michigan Wolverines talked about on the documentary that they had of the Fab Five, how they talked about Christian Laettner. They did that for him, and it was kind of funny. But when you grow up with brothers, man, you're gonna be competitive. I got 3 boys, and they compete every day. I mean, they race to the kitchen, and whoever loses is getting their leg pulled, like they're pulling the other.
Yeah, the youngest brother of Drake of Luke May is Drake. Well,
Yeah.
good job there, Davis, with that.
Thank you.
Didn't
Thank
put
you.
the connection together until then. Very good. Yep, that's true. All right, NFC Championship. We only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to just I'm having a hard time with this game. Let's be honest. This is going to be a lighter betting game for me. This one's tough for me. I just don't know if I want to go up and in Seattle against that defense with how well they're playing. And but at the same point in time, it's McVay, it's Stafford, it's a great offense that they're going to have to deal with here, and it's an offense that did score 37, albeit they lost the game 38-37, but Rams were able to move it against Seattle, but this defense, man, they look just like they're so dialed in right now. Seattle, they got the 12th man, they got the home field. They're 2.5-point home favorites, 47.5 the total in the NFC Championship game. I guess right now for me, it's a lean Seattle, certainly at less than a field goal. Trevor, we'll start with you on this. This is a dandy, by the way. This has got the potential to be just a phenomenal football game. Trevor, what do you think for the NFC title game?
Gosh, man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, the Rams feel a little bit like a team of destiny, but buyer beware, man, on that, because Seattle's just so freaking good, man. Like you look back at their defense has just been playing really, really well over the last half of the season, aside from their game against the Rams. I wonder if Sean McVay has something figured out on that defense, or if they just had like lightning in a bottle that night, because that was in Seattle. You know, they lost in overtime with 2-point conversion. Darnold struggled early. They got some field position off those turnovers. But, man, I think if anything, you go under. But the last time they played, the total was 75, you know. So, like, I don't know. I just wouldn't feel comfortable betting either side of this game either. But I will say the Rams feel like a little bit like team of destiny to me. But they also have gone on the road 2 weeks in a row at Carolina and then at Chicago and played 2 heart-winning games, but a lot of effort goes into it. You got to wonder, does that kind of catch up with them at this point? Seattle's fresh, rested, you know, had no trouble last week, didn't play their starters in the 4th. They almost had like another bye week in a way.
2.6. That is the touchdown to interception ratio for Sam Darnold in 2 games against the LA Rams this year. 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And of course, the 2 touchdowns were in the most recent game. He didn't have any in that first game where they lost 21-19 to the Rams. So he had 1 under and 1 shootout. Kind of have a feeling this goes back to a little bit more lower scoring this time around, especially
ball control
at home and
keep
the Rams,
Stafford off the field sort of a situation for Seattle.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And it's a higher total. It's 47.5 here. And Seattle plays slow. Rams might have to. And one thing that worries me about the Rams, too, is the spot. You know, it's a team that played in Carolina in the wild card round. You had to go, obviously, to Chicago in the cold last weekend. And now you're out to the Pacific Northwest for a 3rd straight road game in as many weeks. You know, does that start to add up a little bit? I have no idea. Like, I think sometimes it's the chance to go to the Super Bowl, right? Sometimes adrenaline takes over, and who cares? It's a 3rd straight road game. We'll still be ready to go, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. Davis, what do you think here, Rams Seahawks?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's totally like a 50-50 coin flip. And I mean, no disrespect to Sam Darnold, because I think, you know, he's shattered everyone's expectations. I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought that the Seahawks were probably going to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, even a lot of people probably didn't think the Rams were when, you know, there were talks of Matt Stafford possibly retiring. He didn't practice all camp, like all that stuff. But I got to go with my boy Matt. You know, I got to go Rams money line. That last game they played in Seattle, I mean, I think obviously the total turning point of that game is the 55-yard punt return by Rashid Shaheed.
They would have covered plus 2.5 in that game because it was 38-37. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you got to find a way to. That guy is a total wild card, total X factor, right? Rashid Shaheed. Yeah. I would honestly kick the ball out of bounds if I could. If I can't kick the ball out for a touchback, there's no way I'm kicking that guy the ball. And if I'm punting the ball, I'm eating the field position. That guy can't touch the ball. The only way he can touch the ball is if he gets the ball on offense, and that's Sam Darnold's job to do. If I'm the Rams. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Devontae played in that game either, and they still put up 37 points in Seattle. You know, we all know Devontae, Puka is probably the best tandem in the league. You know, maybe you could argue Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, but I'm still probably going Puka, Devontae. I got to believe my guy Matt. I got to believe in Sean McVay. The only thing that terrifies me is the Rams defense. And sometimes the Seahawks offense it's so bland and so vanilla, but it's just perfect execution. You know, they run the ball for 7, they run the ball for 8, JSN on a crosser for 30, AJ Barner for 50. I mean, it's honestly it's cool to watch because it does seem so bland. It's probably obviously not bland, but I think the Rams got to find a way to hunker down a little bit. I would honestly favor the over here too, but I do think the Charbonnet injury um, is going to lean on the Seahawks a little bit more. We'll see if Kenneth Walker can kind of manage all those touches, because I think they're going to have to run the ball pretty well in order for them to take down the Rams. But end all, I'm going Rams money line. I'll take over 47.5.
And the over 2. There you go. So more like the 38-37 game that we just saw a few weeks, classic on a Thursday night. Even Al Michaels was excited calling that game. And look, Al's a legend. But you're right. As he's gotten older, he doesn't have that same, that oomph. But you give him a big game, though. You give him a great game, and he can still dial it up that extra octave. And he sure did. That was an unbelievable game that Thursday night with the Rams and the Seahawks. Fast. Is there any prop you like there, Davis, in that game, Rams Seahawks?
Oh boy,
I
haven't.
If you want.
What's Kenneth Walker's rushing yards?
Kenneth Walker. Let me just double check, because obviously he now is going to get all pretty much the carries and the reps here with Charbonnet sidelined here for the Seahawks. But let me just see here. Kenneth Walker. Rushing yards for him is 85.5 now. Yeah.
Ooh, that's high.
What about JSN total catches? Because they do a phenomenal job.
6.5 receptions.
I think he has more than that, because I think they do a really good job, maybe better than anybody. Of Davis kind of alluded to how simple they are. They're simple, but not. They do similar things out of different ways to do it. So they'll bring JSN to the backfield and run him on option routes. They'll get him in stacks. Run him on option routes. They'll run him out of, bunch sets, and they'll double inside release, he'll outside release, generate leverage, run option routes. And I feel like he's going to catch a few of those, some crossers. I feel like that's the guy to kind of look at.
I'm just looking at it, Trevor, as you're saying that, the 2 games against the Rams, 8 receptions, 9 receptions for Jackson Smith and Jigba in those 2 games. Maybe we should be looking at that.
Look at me.
I'll give you AJ Barner receiving yards. I'll take that over.
There you go. The tight end there for the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, and it's 27.5 is the number with that. Yep.
Give me 3 catches, baby. 3 catches for 30.
All right, there we go. AJ Barner's been an impact player on that offense many a time this season for the Seattle Seahawks. Great stuff. We're out of time. We said we'd keep it to an hour because I know Trevor's certainly got to get to his next place. But great stuff, guys. Always good to talk football with you. We'll try to line something up before the Super Bowl in 2 weeks and get ready for that game. We'll see if Davis's Broncos are able to pull the upset here and get there to the Super Bowl with a win against New England. But obviously, still work to be done. Let's wrap it up with a best bet. Davis, you got one? You can pass if you want because it's early in the week. There's a lot of days still to think about it. But anything you like most of all for Sunday?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Drake May longest completion over 35.5.
I can tell you like that. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Drake May, New England, longest completion over 35.5 yards. Trevor, what do you got?
Over Broncos Patriots game.
There you go, 41.5. Ditto for me. Nothing more to add. I like that too. That is my single favorite side or total of the weekend. And it's that over 41.5. Denver and New England. I still think Denver defense is a little suspect. May and the Patriots will have success, and I think Stidham and the Broncos offense will perform better than a lot of people think. So there you go. Always good to talk ball with you boys, as you know. Always enjoy having you on the show. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Go Broncos, baby.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
There we go. Broncos country. And like I said, you know what's going to help Denver? And they could lose still anyway, but they get the game at home. I think.
Totally.
100%. That is significant that they still get to play this game, this AFC Championship at home. And like I said, gives them at least a fighting chance here on Sunday. Great stuff. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hit the like button. on the way out. For Trevor Harris, for Davis Alexander, I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy NFL Conference Championship Sunday, and good luck. And thanks for watching another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.